Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode. Today, I'm really excited to bring on one of my dear friends. Her name is Becky Johnstone. I actually met her randomly at about 5 a.m. in an Anytime Fitness over in Illinois when I was visiting my family, and we ran into each other in the gym and we just got to chatting, exchanged information. We've kept in touch ever since. I catch a workout with her whenever I'm back. But the thing about Becky is she's a normal everyday person, right? But she has really gone through so many different phases of her life. She's a mom, she works full time. She used to train for bodybuilding shows and she was very successful in that aspect of her life, but recently also went through a number of procedures that has really forced her to take a different look at life, find happiness again after mastectomy, after hysterectomy, after prolapse repair. And we're just going to talk through her journey, talk through what it was like to go through prep, talk about what it was like after prep, talk about what it was like finding out you have all these different conditions that we need to fix, and what it looks like trying to find yourself in happiness again after. Because I tell you what, this woman is a light, even though she has been through so much. So hopefully you get out of this podcast everything that I expect that you will. But Becky will be in here in just a second. All right. So, Becky, so excited to have you here, lady. I'm glad that we could catch you
Mhm.
before you head back to work.
Yeah.
Um, can you do me a favor and just introduce yourself? Like, where are you from? A little bit of your background. What do you do? And we can kind of go from there.
Yeah. So I am from Hampshire, Illinois, like northern Illinois. And I currently sell fitness equipment for Life Fitness, do consumer sales. I spent the past 6, 7 years competitive bodybuilding, got into bodybuilding, I guess just the whole process of losing weight, building your muscle. Back in about 20 10, maybe earlier than that. And then got really hardcore into it in 2015 when my dad was killed in a car accident. It was just kind of an outlet, and talked to some of the people while I was managing an Anytime Fitness Club who were competitors. And I thought, that sounds like fun or something interesting to try. Previously, having been morbidly obese, I thought, well, this will be interesting with the whole like nutrition surrounding prep and all that. So, loved it. Everything went great. I had a few rough patches. I think one year I ended up getting rhabdomyolysis after a show, was advised never to bodybuild again or I would end up on dialysis, which of course that lasted about 2 years. And I did a powerlifting little prep, hated everything about powerlifting, and talked to my doctor as my coach. And I said, no, I want to compete. And we did it again, and everything was great. And then my life fell apart after it. Um, but it's just not, it's not a healthy sport. It's definitely, people say, oh, it's so healthy and you're eating so healthy. No, you're not healthy. You don't get all the well-rounded nutrients that your body actually needs. But in an off season, when you do it right, then you do have that. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at. So now I'm not competing. I'm just bodybuilding and living my life.
Yes, living. Oh my God, living
Yeah.
is so the truth. I mean, I never competed. I
Yeah.
know you and I have talked about that so many times, but
Yeah.
I'm essentially in prep myself just because. So
Yeah.
I can relate. But I mean, I think one of the biggest things to touch on, I didn't even realize this about you. You used to be morbidly obese. Is that what you
Yeah.
said?
Weigh like 235 pounds. And I met a nurse when I was working in the cancer center in Rockford who was doing Weight Watchers, and she made it like sound so much fun. Granted, this was probably Maddie was born in '03. This was probably in like '05, '06.
Okay.
And I'm like, God, she makes it sound like fun. What is this Weight Watchers thing? And I went to one meeting with my neighbor. And at that point, Maddie was a baby. Jake was a couple years old. I'm like, I can't, and I was a single mom. So I'm like, I can't afford to go to these meetings. This is dumb. So I took what I learned and, knew what my point should be at and just did it. And realized, oh, when you can make a game out of it, or when you have someone to help you or hold you accountable or to like be your weight loss buddy, that's a different thing. Where my mom always yelled at me over and over through the years, you're fat, you're fat, you're fat. Like I still hear it in my head, but never, it's like never offer to help. It's kind of just like tell your kid they're fat.
Mm.
um so having that person, that nurse, kind of show me something different, that really helped. And then I went to a doctor who was super nasty. It was my first time seeing her. And she was just like, look, you're fat. You need to lose weight or you're going to die. Here's some info on gastric bypass. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's how we present obesity in this world. And I was like, no, 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 we're not doing that. At the time, I was also on high cholesterol medicine, but that also runs in the family. So I was convinced that losing weight would be fine. And my doctor said, don't go off the meds. And I, of course, went off the meds and lowered my cholesterol myself from diet and exercise. Mostly, at that point, exercise, because I really didn't know much more than like Weight Watcher points,
Mhm.
beyond nutrition that I do now.
That
So,
is like
yeah.
seriously amazing. Let me just applaud you. In a world of shortcuts, you did not take those. That is for sure.
No, no.
That's amazing. And it's absolutely why we click so well. I did not know that
Mhm.
about you before. But that's
Yeah.
amazing. So, okay, so now take us, to 2015-ish when you decided that you're going to start prepping
Yeah.
for a bodybuilding show. So, what clicked there?
Yeah.
How did we get to that point? What was that like?
So, like I said, I talked to a few of the trainers that I knew through Anytime that were competing, and one of the girls, she had a coach for a long time. She, was making her way to the pro stage, and she's like, "Here's his name. Reach out to him." I did. He's in like Philadelphia or something like that, and he was good. But then, and he got me through like my first show, and then most of my second prep. But he wasn't one of those. I learned that he wasn't as much as what I needed. Like he didn't address the things these days that coaches address, like labs, vitamins, like all of that stuff. It was a good experience, but I think then I decided, okay, I really love this. I want to do more. So I went to a posing seminar in Milwaukee, and that's where I met my coach. She had helped with posing. And so I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I started following her on social media, kind of see her clients, see what she's all about, and reached out to her 3 weeks, I think, before my second show when my coach was trying to kind of dropping the ball. And I had reached out to her and about three other coaches to interview. The three other ones were pretty much like, yeah, no, I'm not taking you on 3 weeks out. And, I would have been willing to pull out of the show. I had money in it, which I still probably would have pulled out. When I spoke with my coach, she was like, absolutely, I can do this. So her confidence and then what she stood for in like, clean eating, and showed herself getting heavy after an off season. Like you don't walk around stage lean all year. That's not healthy. And the fact that she was in school to become a registered dietitian really, you know, it was about the time when you kept seeing all these bodybuilders dying. Obviously, we see a lot more now. So I really learned the importance of having somebody read my blood work, advise on vitamins, and make my nutrition plan, because you can kill someone making a plan to compete if you don't know what they're doing.
Mhm.
Um, I think my trust really fell into her when after our show. So she got me through that show. It was great. We did a long off season, went into another show. Then when I got rhabdo, she had sent me to the hospital. She's like, you need to go to the ER and say what? I have bloating and back pain. Cause I literally woke up from my show the next morning, 13 pounds heavier. And
Mhm.
it's not like I gorged and went crazy. We tried to subside the bloat and the gain on our own for about a week. And then she's like, no, go to the ER. And I'm like, what do I say? I'm fat. Like, I don't know what to say to them. And she's like, no, tell them you just, depleted for a show, blah, blah, blah. They'll know what to do. They're going to run X, Y, and Z. They literally ran X, Y, and Z. Every time I said what they were doing, she goes, yep, yep, I'll let me know the result. So, you know, met with the kidney doctor. They were able to discharge me from the hospital. It had been already a week, like most people right away, on IV fluids, but I waited so long and was like trying to flush myself at home. So I didn't need to stay. I just needed some more time.
Mhm.
Um, so we dropped competing, went into, doing a powerlifting stint. And like I said, didn't like that. So I went back to my family doctor and to my coach and said, there's got to be a way. and he wanted blood work. She wanted blood work that he was already okay with ordering. We all looked at the labs and agreed. And the one thing she had said, which her confidence, like I said, was a key thing. You want a coach that at least sounds confident. Like, I
Yes.
would like to hope that they are, but like that was a huge thing, like being confident in herself and in me. Um, and she was like, I can get you on stage without depleting you and without dehydrating you, and you will be fine. We can do this. And I was like, okay. And she personally was competing as well at the time. And she had switched, had, got herself a new coach. And that, I think that coach kind of was also a mentor. So kind of helped her. And she was able to help her clients. So, and she was by that time finished her becoming a registered dietitian. And that was the show I did in December of 2022. And I was literally the only bodybuilder sitting backstage eating rice cakes all day. I was a half a gallon of water full. I mean, we went down from 2 gallons, a day and continuously went down. But show day used to be pretty much sips of water.
Hmm.
And I was eating chicken and rice cakes and rice and honey and peanut butter and drinking water. So, people would see me walking around with all this water and be like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to live. So,
I don't want to die
um,
today.
yeah, not going to die. But the interesting thing was that it did not make a difference. And she succeeded, and I did not get sick. Like, everything was great. And it was my best showing ever. And pretty much went out with a bang.
That's amazing. Because I
So,
remember you posting pictures. It
yeah.
was like a turquoise blue suit, right?
Yeah, yeah. They
Yeah.
actually, no, my first one was, this last one was more blue.
More
Like
blue.
yeah, it was more like a simple design. My
Oh,
original
that's
one was
right.
turquoise with swirlies. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I had one remade. I was like, nope, I'm gonna budget, get a new suit. My body's totally different in 6 years, which it totally was, and splurged on a new suit. And yeah, and so it was, I like, of course, felt more confident because when they make them, they cut them to your body. So,
Hmm.
I was able to hide my C-section suit, and can't hide much in those little suits, that's for sure.
I did not know
But
that. I did not know that they could hide so much
you
in
have
those
to,
little teeny
you
tiny
have to,
things.
yeah, you got to glue everything together, or one wrong move and slip of a lip or a nipple. That
Oh,
could happen.
goodness. We don't want any
So,
lip slips.
no, no, no. So, it was great. I'm not really, it's weird how all of this came together with, um, like all the GI stuff. So
Yeah.
I'll let you go on.
Yeah, no. So I know that before we get into the GI stuff and everything that you
Yeah.
went through with that, I know that we had that question come through about like your post-show
Oh,
stuff. Do you
right.
want me to reread that? Would that be helpful?
Um, nope, I see it right now. Okay, so off prep. So you're really never off prep. If you're competing, you're always on prep. Like, you're not cutting, but like none of my off seasons were just free for alls. There was still some cardio. There was still my lifts I still had to do. There was still a meal plan. It was once in a while, either if we were far enough out from a show, we would be able to do like a cheat meal or a reload meal. And it's not like a cheat day or
Mhm.
anything, but I liked the reload meals. It would literally like double the amount of rice and chicken, maybe. But I still got to kind of live. Like, I could go to a restaurant and order chicken. And if they didn't, if they had some oil on it, it wasn't going to be life threatening.
Mhm.
So there really isn't any off. And there are tons of like horror stories of people gaining tons of weight. And that's pretty common. I think like usually after your first, like the first time you do it, you're like, holy hell, go hog wild and just eat what you want. Um, but like you'll actually get sick. Like, you can't, and blow up and gain all the weight back. And so um it was hard to be like thinking you're restricting yourself from all this stuff, but then you realize you're getting the good nutrients and you have to put on weight. Um, like for example, before I started my last prep, my stage weight this last time was like 125, 124. I mean, for reference, I'm short, I'm 5'3.5. And my off season, my heaviest off season, I would remember sending weekly check-ins to my coach and freaking out. And the highest I got was like 169. And I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. And she was like, why why are you obsessed with that number on the scale? I'm like 169 because like, and she's like, you look perfect. Everything I'm telling you to do, this is how you need to look right now. You're building the muscle. You need fat. You need to have a period. Like she
Mhm.
taught me not to freak out about those things. And you do it right and you hopefully you pick the right coach for you.
Mhm.
It's totally the thing that I think that people should realize, and I know you won't any offense to this, but like
Oh,
the fact that you can kill someone by manipulating their diet and their medicine, like I would only go to a coach that does body, like is in the bodybuilding arena only.
oh
I mean,
yeah.
not only, but that has like, regular clients, but like that's such a specific thing. And to know the division, to know what the judges are going to look for. Like my coach, her mom was a judge. So that was pretty helpful too. I never lost the love for lifting. I still get excited to go lift every day. I never felt like, oh, this is something I have to do. No, this is a choice. I decided to do this. I could back out anytime. But um I loved all of it. I mean, 90 minutes of cardio sometimes was a little brutal, but
You
I
and that stair
mean,
climber.
yeah, like the thing would only stay on for 60 minutes and then it'd stop and I'd be like, oh my God, I have 30 more minutes to go. But, I had a smart coach. I wasn't always doing cardio. Like off season, it was very, very low.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, I feel like my experience with bodybuilding was really good and I learned a lot, just about nutrition in general. Like I don't eat things out of a can or a box. And, I try to just stick with everything whole.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
I would
And I think that
say it's
I
great.
mean, wouldn't you agree too? Like you were around, I've never been backstage. I've never been to a show. That's not a world I was
Yeah,
interested in getting involved in. But would you agree that a lot of those people tend to turn to those highly processed, calorie-free, fat-free, sugar-free things in order to like get the sweetness, in order to get the stuff that you
yeah,
want, but really it's kind of destroying you inside
yep,
instead. That's where that important coach, having someone that really cares about your overall
yep,
health, just comes into play.
exactly. And that's why a lot of times you'll see, I would make things that I wouldn't make now. Like I didn't
Mhm.
go overboard on the low calorie sweeteners. I would do like syrup, like sugar-free syrup. That was kind of one of my naughty things. And then sugar-free lemonade. And you learn to make things sweet with as little as possible.
Mhm.
Like whenever I would have a protein shake, if I wanted to be able to eat my protein and not drink it, I would make it more like sludge and just make less water, make it thicker, make, a protein pancake and use that small amount of, but measure, the sugar-free
Yep.
syrup. I utilize cinnamon for almost everything, like chicken with
Yes.
cinnamon, rice with
Yes.
cinnamon.
It's actually really
Cinnamon
good.
is nothing. It's actually like so good on rice and chicken. So, you learn to get away from that like craving, but that's when I got into the xanthan gum and protein and ice cubes and making like ice cream. So that I found as when I got deeper into prep and I still had a protein shake, I would turn it into ice cream because it's so filling, all that crushed ice and the water, and the
Mhm.
protein. It was so filling and I felt like I was having sweets.
Oh yeah.
So that was like one of the things that kept, I mean, my cravings were low. Plus, like, I didn't want to disappoint myself. The sport's thousands of dollars. Like, I didn't want to disappoint my coach. So I wasn't ever one of those people that's like, I'm going to screw up. Like, I'm paying all this money. I'm not going to go and piss it all away and just like for one thing to eat where people are like, oh, can't you take a bite of that? No, no.
No,
So
I don't need it.
yeah,
Yes.
I don't need it. So the
Highly
processed
disciplined.
stuff and like the sugar-free stuff, that was hard, I think, only for a short time.
Yeah.
I mean, in off season, I was so full. I was eating, almost 3,000 calories a day at some point. So,
Yeah.
I never complained about being full because you know what it's like to be starving.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I was up at that 3,000 calorie a day point this last fall as well, earning
Yeah.
my hormones back just like you did.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I remember looking at Robert Cross' table. I'm like, I don't want to eat this. And he's like, I've never heard you turn down food before. I was like, I know. This is new.
Oh, that's funny. Right, right.
But when you do it with Whole Foods, you're actually legitimately full, and your body's like,
Yeah,
oh, this is what it's like to not be stressed out about everything. Nice.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. No, I really appreciate you going through that because I do know that we have a number of people that follow me that are going through different sorts of prep right now and interested in doing shows. And I'm not coaching them through that because that's not my forte, but
Yeah.
they're looking for what to kind of expect through it. So I really appreciate your insight on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so now fast forward to post show number two when you said life really started to take some curves. Like, what all happened?
Well,
Because
so that was actually December of 2022. That was actually my fifth show.
okay.
Um,
Oh, that's
and
right.
that,
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess high level overview. In October of 2022, before my December show, I pulled out of a show that we were going to do because my legs just weren't coming in lean enough. So we're like, you know what, let's just skip this one, Becky. Like, that was my coach's idea. She's like, unless just want it to do it, and then we can continue. I was like, no, that's stupid. Let's do a little reverse, and then let's dive into getting ready for December. So October of 2022, my sister and I went to Vegas, was able to take a little vacation, had one cheat meal, otherwise, sat at the pool, stayed on track. It felt really good. Got home, had a sore throat, thought, that's weird. All the cigarette smokes in Vegas. I didn't feel good. It was disgusting. And I thought, oh, I'll take a COVID test. It came out positive. I was like, no, that's wrong. Took about 5 more. Got COVID, felt totally fine while I had COVID
Mhm.
until a week later when I ended up with bronchitis. So I had about 7 weeks of bronchitis that led all the way up until show day. Um, Felt like crap, but finished everything out. And it was very odd because between your prejudging in the morning and then you kind of sit around and communicate with your coach and they tell you what to eat, you send them pictures, they keep watching your body. You can change in an hour if you screw something up. And I literally couldn't get out of the bathroom. It was just like, I don't want to be too disgusting, but watering out my butt.
Yeah.
So Maddie and I are parked on the floor by the bathroom for a couple hours, and I probably watered that toilet 20 times.
Oh
And
God, you poor thing.
I was calling my coach. He's like, okay, what happened? And I'm like, I have no idea. I felt totally fine. And that was it. Okay. So then it stopped. I competed. Everything was great. I felt totally fine. Had the usual burger fries on the way home. And a week later, I had a tubal ligation,
Hmm.
recovered from that. That was really nothing. And then, so that was like the end of December. Recovered from that. Maddie went back to school, and all of a sudden in early January, I got really nauseous. And it was just like came out of nowhere. It was a Sunday. I got home from the gym, took a shower, all of a sudden thought I was going to throw up. Couldn't get rid of it. That lasted a week. And then finally I went to the doctor and was like, I just can't get rid of this nausea. There's nothing else wrong with me. There's a lot of tests that they could do to see if, a bacteria or whatever. My coach suggested a few things that bodybuilders all suffer from different gut things or pains post show. We really got nowhere. I was nauseated. We did a bunch of tests. I went to a GI and they, did an endoscopy and a colonoscopy. And he was like, based on your age, let's just do the colonoscopy. But the strange thing was, I had 2 CT scans during my 6 years of bodybuilding for just random things. Once I ended up in the hospital for something, second time was or for the rhabdo, and then the second time was something, a medication reaction. Both times they did CT scans, and both times the radiologist commented on a moderate to severe amount of stool. And I was like, I'm fine. And they were like, are you taking anything? And I'm like, you guys, I'm like, I go to the bathroom. And that's when I saw the GI, and he was like, it's not normal for a radiologist to mention the amount of stool in you when you're not there for that type of thing.
Hmm.
And so you obviously are suffering from constipation. I was like, interesting to know. So I always, kind of feel better after that colonoscopy prep. Um, so he really couldn't figure much out. And so I went to this doctor in the city. He sent me to this guy in the city, a GI, and he, I guess the one good thing all along the way with these doctors I found, they were all very much on board with the fact that I said, I do not need to be told to drink water. I'm not constipated because I'm not drinking water. And I would rather be able to fix these problems with food and exercise versus drugs.
Hmm.
And they so they were both respectful of that. The one in Chicago, he had given me this pill that you put it in this thing, like it activates it, and you swallow a non-medicine pill. It's like a vibrating capsule that is supposed to stimulate your colon. It was the strangest thing. It has an app on your phone. It can tell when that thing is past you, thinking maybe I just have a stubborn like colon or whatever. So tried that for a while, had a bunch of different tests done, and that's when we found out my pelvic floor basically went from being cardboard thick to like paper thin, almost like non-existent. They do this test, like a rectal manometry or something like that, and they put a catheter in your rectum, have you, push, and they, can tell what is going on down there. And so while we were trying to figure out this nausea and constipation and figure out a way, he said basically your body's like a river and you're backed up and that's why you're nauseous. And I was like, that's kind of gross, but thanks for the explanation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, in the meanwhile, before I was able to get to see the doctor in Chicago, that's when I ended up with my first prolapse. And I literally was just going to the bathroom, did never think that I strained. I mean, you don't know if I don't think if you're straining, but maybe people strain and they really don't think they are. I thought maybe that's it because I never felt like someone who has the classic constipation symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to the doctor. I was, like I said, I was going to the bathroom and all of a sudden I'm like, something isn't right. There's something definitely coming out of me. And it was a Saturday. So I was like, I don't know what to do. And having been in healthcare, I always have gloves and a mirror in the bathroom. So I literally grabbed a mirror and grabbed gloves and there was a softball like coming out of me. So thank God I knew what that would look like because I used to work in OB. So I knew what a
Yeah.
prolapse looked like. I knew to push it back in. So still freaked out, called the doctor on call, ended up going to the ER. The ER doctor's like, yeah, I don't see anything. I go, dude, if I sit on the toilet, you're going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, like, come on in. Then he's like, the nurse was like, you get a picture. He's busy. He's like, all right. Called for a surgical consult. The colorectal doctor was like, you will not bodybuild again. Like, you will not squat. You will not deadlift. Like, you can't compete if I fix this because you'll wreck it and we won't be able to fix it again. But how that all looked was like daily incontinence to daily constipation and like not bladder incontinence. So, I mean, it was a rough go after that prolapse until I got it fixed. So she fixed that in May of 2023. I kind of was able to get back to it pretty quickly and felt really good. Started walking. I mean, as soon as I got home from the hospital 2 days later, I was going for walks, slowly got back to the gym, did a lot of researched a lot of different ways, basically to not bear down, to not, push like I'm having a baby or a bowel movement
Mm-hmm.
while working out. Also went to pelvic floor physical therapy, which they give you a lot of yoga, different exercises, but also touches on nutrition and things that will help where it was a lot more than I imagined. I also, one thing that helped that you can make yourself constipated with like too many vitamins or stuff. And so with all the vitamins that I was on to replace the nutrients I lacked competing, those were pretty much constipating me too. I just did not know. Um, so we fixed the first prolapse. I got back to working out. Things were going really good. Pelvic floor therapy was just great. I mean, in a week in between visits, I had improvement. Every
It's
week
amazing.
showed huge improvement. Yeah, it was amazing. It was very awkward. It was kind of uncomfortable. They use, these things to put in you to see, your pressures. Basically, my pelvic floor had no strength.
Mm-hmm.
And because of all the medication to ease the constipation, I was only having liquid stools. And imagine pouring liquid in your hand. You can't hold it. Some falls out. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what my pelvic floor was doing. I was loaded up on medications to get rid of the constipation. And my pelvic floor was too trashed to hold it. It needs to hold something solid.
Mm-hmm.
So the pelvic floor therapy was good. We got things solid. And then out of nowhere, the prolapse happened again, the rectal prolapse, but I also noticed a vaginal prolapse. So I went to my doctor. She sent me for an MRI that looks at what all your pelvic floor organs are doing when you push to squat, push to do a wide leg press, push to have a bowel movement. And all of my organs were causing problems. My bladder was like falling, my vagina was coming out of my vagina, my rectum was coming out of my rectum. And so that led to seeing the gynecologist, urologist, and a colorectal surgeon. And they needed to reconstruct the entire pelvic floor. So had to wait quite a while to get that surgery. So walked around miserable, incontinent, constipated for about 8 weeks before they got me scheduled. And so what they did, since obviously I'm 48, I already had a tubal. I had only one ovary left. I had previously had a tubal pregnancy. So the whole thing is get rid of the uterus and the ovary so there's room to pull everything else up, the
Mhm.
bladder, the rectum. So the gynae took those organs out. The urologist slung or like lifted up my bladder. They also did a bladder sling, so that'll be nice as the years go by. I won't pee my pants when I laugh.
Yay.
And then, right, I never pushed babies out. And then the last part was they pulled up the rectum, reattached it to the colon, and then brought up the whole pelvic floor muscle and like used basically what's in there is held up with mesh and is like reattached.
Okay.
So now when I go to the bathroom, my vagina doesn't fall out, my rectum doesn't fall out. But it's like you have to be really careful, like don't strain, don't push. I haven't squatted in over a year.
Hmm.
Um, but I learned there's a lot of different ways that you can still effectively work out and not risk this.
Hmm.
All of the doctors thought it was strange that I had this, considering I never pushed babies out. I had C-sections. So they chalked it up to being shitty genetics for the constipation part. But basically, years of constipation and years of bodybuilding is what got me in that predicament.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
So you said that your pelvic floor went from being like thick as cardboard to thin as paper. Like,
Mhm.
how did they confirm that if they'd never done that like done an exam before, or did they just assume that it suddenly went thin?
No, so I think the test that was able to tell that was because I can't remember if there was a CAT scan or an MRI or something that we did where the second GI that I went to who gave me that
Oh.
vibrator capsule, I don't know if it was something that he had seen. It could have been it was called an anorectal manometry, the catheter in the rectum. And I think that's where they're able to tell how
Oh.
thin, like your pelvic floor is supposed to be cardboard thick.
Hmm.
And he's like, gone to paper thin, which the physical therapist had said that's exactly why it can't hold on to the liquid stool that you're creating.
Hmm.
Um, your body's like she said, my pelvic floor was in a constant state of tension, trying to hold in the liquid stool that was being formed by the constipation medicine.
Oh my God, you poor
So
thing.
yeah,
Wow. Okay, and then
yeah,
I don't know. There's just so many things there. Like I'm sure that people are going to relate to this because like you said to me when we were talking about doing this show, you're like people don't want to talk about it because it's embarrassing or people don't want to go
right,
to the doctor about it because they're embarrassed about it, but it can lead to such really just not a
yeah.
great quality of life if you don't.
Right, exactly. And that was one thing. I was like, I mean, everyone was like, you are way too young to be going through this. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. That's great to hear. Let's just fix this. But it's
Mhm.
like, I don't know one like great moment that I've had since January of 2023 when this started. Now, mind you, I'm still dealing with nausea.
Mhm.
I've maybe had a handful of days since January 2023 that I haven't been nauseous. I always have some form of nausea throughout the day. We really don't know why still, but it is worse when I'm constipated. So it's interesting. But like a lot of the women that I know from the gym, I'm just like, girl, put a belt on. Girl, don't lift that heavy if you don't need to. And like, just have kind of been able to talk about people like, do your pelvic floor stretches, do Kegels, like, You can look up the stretches. It's yoga, but like exercising is good for that. Um, and the interesting thing is that your muscles have muscle memory, and the pelvic floor muscle does know how to get its strength back. And that was one thing the therapist had taught me. And she's like, once we, get your stools back to solid, that pelvic floor can then build its muscle back up
Hmm.
and not focus so hard on holding on tight to the liquid. But yeah, it's sad because met women that are like, oh yeah, I feel like there's something pushing out of me when I'm lifting heavier, when I'm squatting that position. And it's like, okay, that's not normal. We don't have to live with that. Doctors aren't jerks about that. There's people fix you.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, before it gets worse.
yeah, and the interesting thing was, my personal OB-GYN who I used to work to and who I go to, there was a different one that did my surgery because those three doctors always work together on their tandem surgeries. Both of them, I had told both of them about how amazing the pelvic floor therapy is, and both of them, I'm like, this should be available to women. And I would say, what I would say to your women that want to possibly do pelvic floor therapy or they think they need it, like it seems like something that gynecologists are would be happy to give you a referral for. Like both of them that I'm friends with, or the one that I'm friends with and the one that did my surgery, they're like, it is such a great thing. And I said, every woman should get this, especially after pushing babies out. And they were both
Hmm.
like, absolutely.
But that's never
Um,
suggested, unfortunately.
it never is. No, it's like, I think now my friend who I go to, I think she is recommending it more. And her medical assistant asked me, about it, and I gave her all the exercises I had, and she had actually asked, the doctor, she's like, can you refer me? And she was like, yeah, absolutely. And so I think just like my whole thing is don't question if something doesn't feel right. Like
Hmm.
it's very possible it could feel like things are falling out of you, and maybe they are, but I don't I don't miss like the heavy stupid stuff. I don't miss competing. I think I miss it, but I like having my organs inside of me.
Yeah.
So, that was a big thing. So I think there's a lot of things that I've changed, like workout wise, to not screw this up. Wide squats, wide leg presses, those like were my go-to. Like anything glutes, lower body, that was great. So now I do a lot of single leg stuff.
Hmm.
Um, walking lunges, I try not to be stupid and do anything heavy. So it's kind of like put a belt on, A, and B, if you feel like you're pushing to do the lift, like ease back a minute. I mean, especially women that have already had babies, because
Yeah.
I I definitely would not wish all of this upon anyone.
Yeah, and that's the thing
But
too. Like going to a pelvic floor PT, mine specializes in active women, and
okay.
she'll teach you how to wear a belt properly in order to help support
Mhm.
everything. So,
Yeah.
like when you're looking for a pelvic floor PT, look for one that's like if you have options, look for one that specializes with active women, with people that want to be lifting, and they'll be
Yeah.
able to help you even more. It's been life-changing. I've only gone to her a few times and it's already been so eye-opening. I cannot say it
Wow.
enough. Um,
Yeah.
so do you
That's
still
awesome
go?
that you found one that specializes in like lifting like that.
Yeah,
I
so
know
helpful.
I know mine was so specific because of the type of therapy. There's not many therapists out here that do the type that was ordered by my doctor. I don't really know exactly what it was called, but like we use like vaginal sensors and rectal sensors to check the pressures and stuff. So like that's kind of awkward, even though you put them in yourself, she just reads the machine.
Yeah,
But like if you can find one, especially that, specializes like that, that's that's
even
just
better.
huge. I
Yeah.
think, and the one that I go to, she is young and active, and the nice thing is she was able to like relate and understand that this is I wanted to continue to lift, and I really found value in her. Like, shop around. We are not the 1960s where our parents, whatever the doctor
Yeah.
said, went. Like, we have to advocate for ourselves. And I was like, okay, I really like her. But the one cool thing that she did offer me after I had my mastectomy and then the implants, I went from having, being in the itty bitty titty club to now having these massive boobs that, fit my body.
Yeah.
But I was telling her, I'm like, my back is sore. And she was like, you have a lot of back muscle, but your back muscle was used to holding up your little A boobs. Now it's got to support these. And so I was like, oh my God, that's a genius way to look at it. Why didn't I think that? And she gave me exercises to do to strengthen that. So
Yeah.
I feel like you really have to shop around for your person. And when you find that person, like, stick with them. It's like a marriage,
Yes. Yes.
marriage
Oh,
and a therapist.
yeah. Yeah. If you find a good one, you keep them.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's gonna come on a show here in a couple weeks too, so I'm sure
Oh,
you'll
really?
enjoy that one.
Oh,
Um,
great.
but okay, so couple more things. So
Mhm.
double mastectomy, was that by choice?
Yeah. So what
Okay.
happened was 2 years ago, or I think the summer prior to the mastectomy, I had my regular mammogram. I have a history of um um no, we have a family history of breast cancer. My mom's
Okay.
had breast cancer twice. We're also Ashkenazi Jews, so there's the genetic testing I'd already been through, and I didn't carry the gene, but my sister does, and my mom does. My mom also has happened to four women on her side of the family, like cousins and whatnot.
Hmm.
Two had the gene, two did not. One that had the gene did never got cancer. She ended up dying recently. But there were the other two that didn't have the gene. They both got breast cancer. So
Got
it's
it.
kind of like a miss with the gene and the fact that so many women on my mom's side had it. And then I had the abnormal mammogram. So I talked to the surgeon, and then they went and did an MRI. Whatever formula gives you your risk factor, and my risk factor came back at lifetime risk of like over 30% chance of getting breast cancer.
Mhm.
And when she said that, I thought, okay, I don't know where 30% falls in the scheme of boobs and mastectomies, but that sounds like a lot. She goes, that is a lot. And anything over 20% is what the insurance will pay for. She goes, but we advise it like, I think it was a small amount under 20%. But so she, was like, I would highly, this is what's recommended. The weird thing was a lot of people commended me on having the courage to do that. And I just thought, I don't ever want to have to be courageous enough for chemo.
Right.
Um, so it was interesting. So yeah, I mean, we did that, and I, found a great plastic surgeon that I really liked. And both of those doctors, I told them too, I'm like, I am active. I will get back to things. I also will try not to be stupid. And if you say I can live 15, I might want to go 20. So like
Yes.
they were both really pro not giving me drugs. I said I did not want narcotics. I said I want to feed myself with fuel. And they were both really great. And I was back to working out like in a few days after that.
That's
I
awesome.
mean, walking at least. I mean,
Yeah.
I had contractions on, but got back to doing legs in like a week because I just had people load the leg press plates for me.
That's
So
perfect.
the mastectomy was the easiest thing I went through, honestly.
Got
Like
it. Okay.
people were surprised. Yeah.
Okay. Oh goodness. Okay. So like I thought it was something like that, but I couldn't remember. So you went through that
Yeah.
and then we went through everything in the lower half and you ended up
Yep.
getting a hysterectomy as well recently, right?
Yeah. So they did everything at once. It was the
Okay.
hysterectomy, the ovary out, the bladder. So it was like a
Everything.
whole 5, 6 hour thing that one surgeon came in, then another, then another. And they all did
So,
their little part.
oh
Yeah.
man. So you ended up going through or getting put into surgical menopause then.
Yeah. So that I think I wasn't really listening, I guess. It was true Becky mode, like, yeah, I'll be fine, I'll be fine, I'll be fine, because I'm Becky.
Hmm.
And sure, yeah, this is surgery. I kept missing the major part. I knew menopause would come, but I think I'm really good at just blocking out what I don't think is gonna be a concern to me.
Yeah.
And so literally it is not like a week, a month later thing. It is, okay, you took the ovary away and now we're done. So now, boom, here is every single symptom you could ever imagine and have a nice life.
Oh,
And they, I mean, literally all hit me at once. The hot flash. I mean, I was in the hospital and I was like, I have hot flashes still. I mean, I was in the hospital, I think 3 days after the surgery, but like the brain fog, I still have that. Like I even know, like talking now, there's times that I'm like, where's the word? Where's the word? Um, and then, people like to say weight gain. I am on hormone replacement therapy because the hot flashes, the mood swings, the constant crying, to be totally transparent. I mean, I sat here crying one day and did not know why, and I was home alone. And I'm like, I should just take a Xanax to relax. And I literally grabbed the bottle and thought, no, I think I'll take the whole thing. And then realized, oh my God, no, that's stupid. I got really scared and just put everything away and just sat. And I was like, all right, I need to do something to manage these symptoms because they're all smacking me in the face at once.
Hmm.
Which with the surgery was hard to try and deal with those things. And then the fact that I ended up getting a corneal abrasion during surgery too. They must have nicked my eye when they were taping my eyes closed. So I woke up with immense eye pain. So that pretty much consumed every bit of my energy for the week after surgery. So it was all kind of a fog. I joke and say they dropped me on the floor because my eye was messed up. My forehead had like a burn from the tape that was on it.
Oh my
So I
God.
had a cut on my forehead for a while. So I was like, do I really have to pay this bill? Y'all poked me in the eye and dropped me on the floor. I'm convinced. But
Oh my
uh,
God.
yeah, so it was a lot at once. And I don't think that like women talk about menopause enough either. Like having worked in OB, I would look at these women who complain about these symptoms and I'm like, girl, put a t-shirt on then if you're hot. Like, chill out. Like, why are you, what? You're crying? That's nuts. Like, I didn't believe, I thought that women were a little over dramatic. And I feel very bad now for thinking that way because, I, like you, we're strong women and like, I got to take care of everything. It's my job being the single mom. Like, there's no time to break down and to completely lose my mind was really hard to handle. And I immediately called a therapist because I thought with the hormone replacement and with a therapist, and all I've been going through, I really need to have happy moments that are not just in the gym. And
Yes.
that the only thing in the past 6 weeks that I felt has been a normal or a good thing has been the hour to 2 hours I'm in the gym in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's like, I need to have that feeling all day long. So I think, all the taboo things that like nobody talks about with like the boobs and my organs falling out and like menopause, it's like, why is this so taboo? Like everyone is dealing with this. And
Hmm.
I've just been sitting here these past 6 weeks thinking, like, yeah, I've been through a lot and this is crazy, but like, why is this not more talked about? It's
Yeah.
obviously a common thing as we're seeing, all over the place, people needing pelvic floor therapy and people having their guts damaged.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
it's been
gosh.
interesting. The hardest thing has been fruits and vegetables.
Ugh,
I'm actually I did a research on some very high quality grains. But I'm like, as soon as I eat vegetables or fruit, I'm in pain
I'm sure.
and they come out whole looking sometimes.
Oh,
So, but like in bodybuilding, you don't get fruit. So I have
no.
been like fruit obsessed.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my God. And then it sees
Oh my
seeds and it's like,
God, apple.
no.
Yeah, yeah. And then I'm like, wait, no, no.
No.
So
Oh my gosh. Well,
yeah,
I mean, all I can say back is, you've been through the ringer to say the least.
yeah.
But every time I've ever spoken to you, you've been nothing but been sincere and positive. And
Oh,
I just, I can't say I appreciate you enough because your story is so moving, yet it's not talked about enough, but you have still
right.
managed to be strong Becky, at least to me,
Yeah.
throughout
Oh
every,
yeah. Yeah.
and
I think I have a very good poker face
you
too.
do have a very good
Yeah.
poker face, but knowing what you've gone through, but you know what, you didn't take the easy way out of anything. You didn't
No.
depend on a drug for anything. You didn't depend on anything. You're trying to fix everything with food, therapy,
Yep.
movement, anything. And I thank you for setting a good example. Um,
Oh,
if
you.
there is anything that you can say about going through hard times that you think would help somebody, what would it be?
I think like, speaking of exercising, like just do it. I mean, like whatever time of the day you feel that you need to, like me personally, I need to start my day off good to feel good. And I get up brush my teeth, get dressed, go to the gym. Like nothing else happens before that. And I think it's just, I've had to work so hard to stay positive because there's days that I feel like everything is falling apart and that just the normal thing is to go to the gym. Um, but I think like A, give yourself grace
Yeah.
and, B, just hold your head high. I mean, I thankfully have had a great support system. Um, and I think I've learned that, okay, my kids are old enough, like I don't have to take care of everything and I'm allowed to have these moments of weakness or whatnot, but to stay positive. And it like resonates with that whole line of Legally Blonde,
Hmm.
where she's like, go work out, they give you endorphins, happy people don't kill people, blah blah blah. Like
Yeah.
it's true. And like don't be scared to talk to people about, you're feeling down or your lack of motivation. Like find somewhere. That's why when people say they work out at home, that's great. And I just would hate to do that. I like the atmosphere, the friendships that you make and the people that are like you,
Hmm.
and they still have shit going on. Like I've met a lot of people that are like, I still have so much going on, but I feel good when I'm here. And
Yeah.
this helps kind of ease how bad everything else feels. Um, and so I mean, I don't know. You also, I think humor is a really big part of it. I mean, a lot of times throughout the past year, I would send Maddie a text and I found a like King Tut casket on Etsy, and I'm like, oh my God, look, Maddie, I'm gonna buy my casket. And she would be like, oh, you're crazy. Can I have your liver though? Or, so it's like I had to find humor in it
Yeah.
because if I didn't laugh, I would have cried.
Yeah.
And, thankfully I have good people that I can feel open with, and I don't feel embarrassed to talk about this with.
Hmm.
I think even when I started dating my boyfriend, who's like 12 years younger than me, and I'm like, oh my God, this dude is getting this psycho old lady that's falling apart. Like, I feel bad. So, but I shouldn't have. So, I mean, a great support system and a positive outlook. And I think also the fact that I never switched mode and just ate shit food because I felt, screw it.
Hmm.
I'm in this predicament. I'm just gonna feed the sadness with food. I mean, sure, I ordered out a few times and we had some, comfort meals, but I made the priority of protein and getting as much nutrients in because I knew mentally it would help a lot as well.
Yes.
So I think just like paying attention to your brain and realizing that, food does good things for not only, I don't know, your gut or for your body, but like your brain too. And
Yes.
so yeah, it was just a lot of trying to be as strong as possible.
Yeah.
And if that meant going to the gym twice a day, because those are my happy spots, and that's what I did.
That's all
But
you can do.
it's nerve wracking. And, I do see a therapist now regularly, and she's like, there's something the doctor had told me, the gynae that did my surgery. She said, there is like failed surgical depression or something like post surgical depression. And the best thing to do is just try to get back to your normal routine. And even my therapist then was like, there's medical PTSD. And it's true. I mean, I feel like every time I'm in the gym, what if an organ slips out? Or,
Yeah.
oh my God, what if I eat this and then I'm in pain for 3 days? It's the fear of the unknown, but
Hmm.
you can't live like that.
No.
And, I went to Iowa football game being sick. I did things being sick because I didn't want to miss them. And I learned how to control things as much as I could with my mind and food. But I think if anyone is going through anything, I always say just do the normal things that make you feel good that you can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Oh, Becky, I appreciate you so much, sweetie.
of course. But yeah, I mean, like anyone has questions, seriously reach out. And
Okay.
I mean, especially if anyone is in this area, the area that I'm at, Northern Illinois by Marengo, like you need a doctor. Like I would happily recommend. I feel like I just did a really good job finding a great team that isn't going to question my water intake or eating healthy or getting movement. They really did what I wanted, and I valued that. And they
Yeah.
valued that I was going to them too.
That's
So
amazing. Amazing. You
advocate.
don't find that anymore.
No, no, you definitely don't. So I think women need to advocate for themselves and really take control of their bodies because our bodies are crazy.
Oh,
So
girl. So many things. Yeah, and
yeah,
I'll
so
link your
really anyone.
Yeah, I'll link your Instagram handle in the
Yeah,
show notes. So that way, if people want to reach out or follow you, then they can.
absolutely. I'd be happy to talk to anyone.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time and
So,
being so
you're
vulnerable and
welcome.
open.
Of course. You have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good. Bye, Beck.
Okay, bye.